On a calm afternoon in a quiet part of Chicago, Harold, an elderly black man, was driving his old but well-kept car down a familiar street. Harold was well known in his neighborhood. He had lived there for many years and was respected by many people. He was the kind of man who always greeted others with a warm smile and a kind word. That day, he was on his way back from the grocery store after buying some food for his family. Suddenly, Harold noticed flashing blue and red lights behind him. A police car had pulled up, signaling for him to stop. Harold carefully pulled over, to the side of the road. He felt a bit nervous because he was not sure why the police had stopped him. He was an honest man who had never been in trouble with the law. As he turned off the engine and waited, he hoped it would be a simple matter, maybe just a quick question. What happened next surprised everyone around. Two police officers approached Harold's car quickly. Without explaining much, they opened his door and asked him to get out. Harold was confused but followed their orders slowly and carefully. But instead of a calm conversation, the officers suddenly grabbed him with force. They pulled him out of the car in a way that looked rough and harsh, especially for an elderly man. Harold did not resist. He was trying to stay calm, but the sudden and strong way the officers handled him shocked the people nearby. Many neighbors who were outside or walking by stopped to watch. Some people began to take out their phones and record what was happening. They wanted to make sure the world saw what was going on. They felt uneasy and worried. Why was an elderly man being treated so roughly? Harold was well known and liked by many, and this treatment seemed wrong. The people around whispered to each other. Some were angry, others were confused. Everyone's attention was focused on Harold and the police officers. Harold's face showed pain and fear. He looked like a man who was hurt not only physically, but also emotionally. People began asking questions. What had happened? Was Harold in danger? Why were the police so forceful? As the officers held Harold on the ground, some neighbors stepped closer, but no one wanted to make the situation worse. The police kept their voices firm and commanding. Harold's confusion grew. He did not understand what he had done wrong. His hands shook slightly and his breathing became uneven. Those watching could see that Harold was not fighting back. He was only trying to understand what was happening to him. Meanwhile, more people gathered around. Some called family members to inform them of the situation. Others spoke softly to each other, worried about Harold's health and safety. They knew Harold had health problems, and some suspected that he might need medical help rather than being handled in this way. The tension in the air was thick. Everyone hoped the situation would calm down soon. The police officers continued their work without explaining much to the crowd. The silence was heavy. Some neighbors tried to speak to the officers, asking politely why Harold was being treated this way, but they were told to stay back. The feeling of helplessness spread among the onlookers. They did not want trouble, but they also did not want to see an innocent elderly man being hurt. This event quickly became the talk of the town. People who saw what happened could not stop thinking about it. Many shared the videos they had taken on social media. The clip showed Harold being pulled from his car and held on the ground, and the expressions on people's faces were clear: confusion, concern, and sadness. As the sun began to set, the situation remained tense. Harold was still being held by the officers and the crowd was growing. Some local leaders heard about the incident and rushed to the scene. They wanted to make sure everything was handled fairly and peacefully. For Harold, that day was frightening and confusing. A man who had always been calm and kind was suddenly in a situation he did not expect or understand. For the people of the neighborhood, it was a moment that raised many questions about fairness and respect, especially for someone like Harold, who had lived in the community for decades. The police had not yet explained why Harold was stopped or why they had acted so quickly and forcefully. The people watching hoped that soon the truth would come out, and that justice and kindness would win the day. After the police officers had taken Harold from his car, the people in the neighborhood could not stop talking about what they had just seen. News of the incident spread quickly through the streets, homes, and shops of the town. People were shocked and deeply concerned about what had happened to Harold, a man they all knew and respected. Almost immediately, neighbors started gathering near the place where the police had stopped Harold. Some were just passing by and stopped out of curiosity. while others came because they felt they needed to be there to support Harold and see what was going on. The crowd grew larger by the minute, and many people began sharing their thoughts and feelings. There was a mix of anger, confusion, and sadness in the air. People talked quietly in small groups at first, trying to understand what had caused the police to act the way they did. Some said that maybe there was a mistake. Others wondered if there had been a misunderstanding. But most people agreed on one thing: no elderly man, especially one like Harold who was peaceful and kind, should be treated with such force. Many who were present decided to use their phones to record videos and take pictures of the scene. They wanted to make sure there was a record of everything that happened, just in case the story was told differently later on. These videos soon started to spread on social media platforms. People from outside the town began to hear about the incident and joined the conversation online, expressing their concern and support for Harold. Community leaders, activists, and local officials heard about the incident through these videos and messages. Some quickly came to the neighborhood to see the situation for themselves and to speak with the police officers and the people who had gathered. They wanted to make sure that Harold was safe and that the officers would explain their actions. The crowd outside was mostly calm, but many were frustrated. Some neighbors shared stories about Harold's life, how he had helped others, how he was known for his kindness, and how he had never caused trouble. They said he was a grandfather who loved his family and was part of many community events. Hearing these stories made the police's rough treatment seem even more wrong. Many people also began asking questions about the police's actions. Why had Harold been stopped? Why had the officers used such force? Was there a better way to handle the situation, especially with an elderly man? Some community members wondered if there was a problem with how police officers were trained to deal with people who might be vulnerable or have health issues. As the day went on, local news reporters arrived, attracted by the crowd and the videos that were already spreading online. They interviewed neighbors and community leaders, sharing their concerns with a larger audience. The story started to appear on news websites and local TV channels, and more people began to follow what was happening closely. In response, the police department released a brief statement. They said they had stopped Harold because of a traffic issue, but they did not give many details. They promised to look into the incident and said they were reviewing body camera footage and reports. Many people felt this statement was not enough and wanted clearer answers soon. Meanwhile, the people gathered around started to organize themselves. Some began planning peaceful meetings to discuss the event and what needed to be done next. Others talked about ways to support Harold and his family, offering help with anything they might need. The feeling of community grew stronger as people came together, united by their concern and their desire for fairness. Many were also thinking about the bigger picture. This incident was not just about Harold or one day in Chicago. It touched on issues that affected many communities everywhere. How police treat older people, how race affects interactions with law enforcement, and how important it is to protect the dignity of every person, no matter their age or background. Parents spoke to their children about what had happened, explaining why it was important to stand up for justice and respect. Teachers and local organizations started to plan conversations and workshops to help people understand these issues better and to build stronger connections between the community and the police. The atmosphere in the neighborhood was filled with a mix of emotions. There was worry and fear about what might happen next. There was also hope that this event would lead to positive change. The people believed that by speaking out and standing together, they could help prevent something like this from happening again. Harold's family, meanwhile, had arrived at the scene. They were relieved to see so many people supporting him, but they were also shaken and upset. They wanted to understand exactly what had happened and to make sure Harold received the care he needed. His loved ones spoke gently to the neighbors, thanking them for their kindness and asking for privacy so they could take care of Harold. As the sun began to set over the neighborhood, the town was still talking about the incident. The police continued their work, and community leaders promised to stay involved. Everyone knew that the days ahead would be important. They hoped that the truth would come out, that justice would be served, and that their community would grow, stronger and safer for everyone. This moment marked the beginning of a new chapter for the town, one where people would no longer stay silent when something was wrong. They had seen how quickly a single event could change everything and bring everyone together. The story of Harold and the police stop was becoming more than just an incident. It was becoming a movement for respect, understanding, and change. As the day passed and more videos and pictures spread across social media, something very important happened. A clearer story about what really took place during the police stop began to emerge. People who had watched the videos carefully noticed details that no one had mentioned before. The truth about Harold's situation slowly came to light, changing how everyone saw the event. One video, taken by a bystander who had been standing a little farther back, showed something the first clips did not. Harold was not resisting or acting aggressively in any way. Instead, it became clear that he was having a medical emergency. His movements were slow and unsteady, and his face looked confused and distressed, not angry or defiant. Harold's hands trembled and he struggled to speak clearly. Some viewers recognized the signs of a diabetic episode, a serious health problem that happens when a person's blood sugar level becomes dangerously low or high. Those who knew Harold well had heard that he managed diabetes for many years. Suddenly, the rough treatment from the police seemed even more wrong, because Harold was not just an elderly man. He was also someone in need of urgent medical care. The community was shocked and saddened by this new information. People realized that the officers might not have known what Harold was going through. They wondered if there had been a way to handle the situation with more care and understanding. Many believed that if the police had been trained better to recognize health emergencies, things might have ended differently. Local health experts and community activists joined the conversation. They explained how important it was for police officers to understand medical conditions like diabetes and how to respond calmly and safely when someone is in distress. They stressed that using force on a person who is already vulnerable could make the situation much worse. The release of the new video led to a shift in how the public viewed the incident. Instead of only focusing on the police's actions, people began to talk about what could have been done to help Harold. They shared stories of others in the community who had faced similar emergencies and how quick, gentle help had made a big difference. Harold's family also spoke out for the first time. They explained that Harold often experiences episodes related to his diabetes and sometimes becomes confused or weak without warning. They said Harold was not a danger to anyone, and that all he needed was medical attention and kindness. The police department, seeing the growing reaction, promised to review their procedures. They said they would study the videos carefully and speak with Harold and his family. Some officers admitted that they had not realized Harold's condition during the stop. This honesty helped calm some fears but did not remove the community's demand for better training and accountability. Many people began to ask difficult questions. Why did it take so long for the truth to come out? Why had Harold been treated like a threat instead of a person needing help? Was this a problem that happened only in this neighborhood, or was it more common in other places as well? The town's leaders organized a meeting where doctors, police officers, and community members came together to talk about these questions. The meeting was full of emotion, as people shared their fears and hopes. The goal was clear: to find ways to prevent similar incidents and to build trust between the police and the community. At the same time, the story reached beyond the town. News outlets across the region picked up the report, showing the full video and telling Harold's story in detail. People everywhere began to think about the challenges faced by elderly and vulnerable people when they come into contact with law enforcement. The incident became a powerful example of how misunderstandings and lack of awareness can hurt people who should be protected. It inspired other communities to check their own police training and emergency response plans, hoping to learn from Harold's experience. Back in the neighborhood, people continued to support Harold and his family. Volunteers brought meals and offered rides to doctor's appointments. The kindness of the community helped Harold recover physically and emotionally. He was grateful for the support, but still had many questions about what had happened that day. Harold himself shared a message with the town. He hoped that his story would remind everyone that every person deserves respect and care no matter their age or health. He encouraged people to look out for one another and to work together to make their community safer and kinder. As the truth became clearer, the anger and confusion began to shift toward hope and action. The town realized that this incident, painful as it was, could be a turning point. It was a chance to make changes that would protect people like Harold and bring the community and police closer together. In the end, Harold's story was not just about one moment on a street in Chicago. It became a reminder of the importance of seeing the whole person, understanding their struggles and needs before jumping to conclusions. It showed how truth and compassion could shine a light in dark moments, helping people to heal and grow stronger together. As from doctors and health experts were suggested to help officers respond more safely. The community also talked about how race and age sometimes affect how people are treated. Many shared stories of how Black people, especially older adults, often face unfair treatment or misunderstandings in police encounters. They discussed how these experiences can hurt trust between the community and law enforcement. The town wanted to work on building respect and fairness in every interaction. Another important topic was the need for better communication. People said that if police explained their actions clearly and listened carefully, many problems could be avoided. They wanted officers to take the time to understand a person's situation before making decisions. This would help everyone feel safer and more respected. As the conversations continued, ideas for real changes started to take shape. The police department promised to review its policies and to create new training focused on health emergencies and respectful communication. Community groups planned to organize workshops and support programs to help people understand their rights and how to stay safe during police encounters. The town also looked at ways to support elderly residents and people with health challenges outside of police interactions. They discussed improving access to health care, creating more community support services, and making sure neighbors looked out for one another. People recognized that a stronger, caring community could help prevent crises before they happened. Harold's story became a symbol of hope and a call to action. It reminded everyone that when a community works together, even painful events can lead to positive change. Harold himself took part in some meetings and spoke about his experience. His calm and kind words helped people see the human side of the story, a man who needed help, not harm. The police officers involved in the incident also joined some of the discussions. They shared their own feelings about the event, admitting that they wished they had handled things differently. Their openness helped break down barriers and started building trust. It was not easy for anyone, but the willingness to listen and learn brought the community closer. Parents, teachers, and local leaders began teaching young people about empathy, respect, and the importance of understanding others. They wanted the next generation to grow up in a world where everyone was treated with kindness and fairness. Schools included new lessons about community, health, and law enforcement, hoping to prepare students to be better neighbors and citizens. The town's efforts attracted attention from nearby cities and even state officials. Many wanted to learn from the town's example of coming together after a difficult event. Harold's story inspired other communities to review their own police training and community support systems. It showed that change was possible when people united with a common goal. Even as the community worked on these big issues, they never forgot the importance of small acts of kindness. Neighbors checked on Harold and his family regularly. Businesses offered help, and volunteers created programs to assist those who might feel isolated or in need. These simple actions helped heal the wounds left by the incident and made the town feel like a family. Over time, the relationship between the police and the community improved. New policies were put in place, and officers became more confident and skilled in handling delicate situations. People felt safer knowing that their concerns were heard and that respect was at the heart of every police interaction. Harold's experience became a story passed down in the town, not just as a reminder of what went wrong, but as a powerful example of how a community can rise above pain and fear to build a better future. It was a story about healing, understanding, and the strength found in standing together. The town learned that true justice is about more than rules and punishments. It is about caring for each other and making sure everyone is treated with dignity. Harold's story helped everyone see that kindness and truth have the power to change lives and bring people together, no matter their age or background. In the weeks and months after the incident with Harold, the town felt a change in the air. What had started as a painful and confusing moment grew into something much stronger, a sense of hope, healing, and community. People realized that even in difficult times, they could come together to make a difference. Harold slowly recovered from the frightening experience. With the support of his family, neighbors, and doctors, he regained his strength. But more importantly, he felt the kindness and care from the people around him. This gave him hope and courage. Harold's story became a reminder to everyone that no one should be judged or treated unfairly, especially those who are vulnerable or in need of help. The community kept working hard to make sure that what happened to Harold would never happen again. Local leaders and police officers continued to meet regularly with residents to listen, learn, and improve their relationship. These meetings were open to everyone and became a place where people could share their concerns, ideas, and hopes. One important change was the creation of a special program to train police officers on how to respond to health emergencies and how to communicate respectfully with people of all ages and backgrounds. This training helped officers understand the challenges faced by people like Harold and taught them how to handle situations with calmness and care. The town also began investing more in community health programs, free checkups, education about diseases like diabetes, and better access to doctors became available to more people. This was especially important for elderly residents, who often have more health concerns but less access to care. Neighborhood groups started organizing events where people could get to know each other better. These included health fairs, safety, workshops, and fun gatherings like picnics and sports days. These events helped build trust and friendship among neighbors, making the town a warmer and safer place to live. Schools played an important role too. Teachers used Harold's story to teach students about kindness, respect, and the importance of standing up for what is right. Students learned about community responsibility and how to be good citizens. Many young people volunteered to help neighbors, showing that even small actions can have a big impact. The media continued to follow the story and shared updates about the town's progress. Harold became a symbol of courage and resilience, inspiring others beyond the town's borders. His story was a powerful message about the strength of community and the importance of treating everyone with dignity. Harold himself spoke at public events, sharing his experience and encouraging people to work together for change. His calm and gentle words touched many hearts. He reminded everyone that no matter what happens, hope and kindness can guide the way forward. At the same time, the police department made important changes. They improved their communication with the community and introduced new rules to protect vulnerable people. Officers worked hard to rebuild trust, showing that they were there to serve and protect everyone fairly. The town's journey was not always easy. There were still challenges and moments of doubt. But through patience, understanding, and effort, the community moved forward. People learned to listen to each other, to respect differences, and to support one another in times of need. In the end, Harold's story became a part of the town's history, a story of pain, but also of hope and healing. It showed that even in the hardest moments, people can come together to create a better future. The town became a place where respect, kindness, and justice were not just words, but everyday actions. This story reminds us all that every person deserves to be seen and heard. It teaches us that truth and compassion are powerful tools to overcome fear and misunderstanding. Most of all, it shows that a caring community can protect and uplift its members, making life safer and more beautiful for everyone. Harold's experience, once a moment of fear and confusion, turned into a lasting lesson for the town and beyond. It became a call to stand together, to listen and to care, no matter who we are or where we come from. And so the town's story continues, with hope in every heart and kindness in every step. Because when people come together with respect and love, they can change the world, one act of goodness at a time.